Okay, everyone, I'm going to do an end of the market wrap video. I just want to cover, kind of what happened today and what's kind of going on. So we'll start off here with the Nasdaq Futures. And, this trend line, I really had it right about here. You can see on the Nasdaq Futures, clear downtrend that we were recently in. And, lots of reactions. There's the top, there's a reaction, we had a reaction there, and then a reaction right there. And we recently just broke out. So there's a breakout, a back test, and then continued movement up. So again, this was one of the reasons behind, me wanting to kind of close out any shorts and right now I'm just kind of sitting long, not with a full size position, but a kind of a starter long. And when I say I'm going long, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm just, gonna ride the market up for the next year and the market's never coming down. I'm really just trying to look for a trade. And when I look at the Qs going back over to here, you can see same downtrend line in the Qs, clean and clear downtrend line, and that's a breakout. In my book, that's a breakout. You had the first hour of the day, it closed above it. It didn't impulsively break out. The next hour started to get more impulsive. So that's where I covered my short and went long. And, it rallied rallied a little bit more. Now, what am I looking for? In general, I'm looking for a move in the Qs up to 324.30 and potentially a gap fill all the way up here at 330.40. All right, those are really the two levels that I'm looking for. I'm not really interested in going long or staying long much beyond that. What I'll likely do is just trail stops. All right, so I'll have a trailing stop loss. If we run up into gap fill here, I'll just keep my stop pretty tight. Or I might even cover up here. So again, gap fill up here I think will be the final target for this long trade. Up to there. So it's a short-term trade because I still think that there's very high likelihood that the Q is actually topped. The SPY is about to correct. I mean, I see all that in the chart still. Just because we're getting a short-term bounce doesn't change the fact that we might have put in a high in the Qs. So, if or when we break to new highs, then that's obviously the wrong call. But as of right now, I'm going to play this for a gap fill and then likely going to reverse short and we'll start to roll over again. That's what I'm going to anticipate. Now, when we get up there in gap fill, let's see what we see in the charts. It'll be interesting to see if we even get up there, and if we do, what's the chart showing. So that's that. All I really see right now in this chart, if I look at the daily, you can see, we had a clear breakdown right there. We kept making a series of lower lows. And now we're starting to kind of bounce. So a bounce up to gap fill would still be, a lower high than the previous high. And that's what I'm going to trade against, is that gap fill. Gaps are oftentimes act like magnets. Next up on the SPY, and again, in the Qs, there's nothing in the momentum indicators. If I go to the daily, you can see here, I don't have... There's really no bullish divergence here on the daily. So to point that out, just to show you what I'm looking at, you can see here the momentum is just down. I'm not making a series of higher lows in the momentum, and even though price is moving higher. So ultimately what I just see is momentum's moving up, price is moving up. It's not diverging, all right? Momentum is not diverging, which typically signals a more major trend reversal. When you have the divergence where price is drifting higher and then momentum is drifting another way or the opposite direction, that's usually what you look for on trend reversals. I don't see that. And so, if we're going to continue in a downtrend, we're going to have rallies, all right? And you're going to move down, and then you're going to rally, and then you're going to move down more, and then you're going to rally. And you look for the divergence in the momentum to signal potentially when those rallies are going to come. Again, the other thing that I want to point out in the Qs is, the short that I called right up here, dropping down to 297. I got that one, completely right. Once you start moving once a trade is triggered and it starts moving in the direction and you hit like your support level, like 297 area, I hit that and I covered my short down there. A lot of people are saying, oh my goodness, he's long today. Well, if you go back and watch my March 5th video, just jump to a minute and 50 seconds in, you'll hear me say, I'm closing out my shorts and I'm getting long the triple Qs. And I said that specifically on that March 5th video. Go back and watch it. It's all there. So it's not the fact that I never am long. It's just the fact that longer term, looking at a more major trend, I'm bearish. All right. And that's not going to change based on the, a couple days worth of a bounce or anything. That's going to, I've talked about when that will change. And that'll change when the SPY, here's your bull market going back to 2009. I know it's hard to have a longer term position or outlook based on a longer term chart. Most people just stick to the, they're just looking at the 1 minute chart or something. But here's the trend, all right? This is your uptrend in the bull market. This is your uptrend, and we broke trend in 2018, and this is why my outlook is bearish, all right? So, we broke, all right? You don't know that you're going to rally. When you break a trend, you don't know that, okay, there's going to be a big rally, but then we broke again. So I suspect that most people that are bullish, that are still bullish, probably got caught in this downtrend, and they probably also got caught in this downtrend. And only for the mere fact that we've recovered those are they, emboldened and bullish. But if we were way down here, selling way off and just making new lows, they would be extremely bearish, where I would most likely be starting to get bullish as we, the lower we go, the more bullish I will become, given, obviously with what the charts say. And the higher we go, while still trading below the trend, this broken trend, the more I'm going to continue to look for, short opportunities and the bearish trade. All right. So again, I want to be bearish. I want to be bearish and looking for short opportunities here, and I want to be bullish and looking for long opportunities, after, maybe down here or whatever, however far it's going to go. On the SPY shorter term though, all right, so here's what we did. We ran right up to my trend line, didn't quite get there, and started to sell off. All right, so technically on the longer term picture, nothing's changed. Now we're up here. We made a new marginal high intraday. Didn't close up there, but again, when we're this close, we can sit there and chop around. And so I'm not really interested in just shorting because we're moving higher and we're right here at this trend line resistance. I want to see some other signs in the charts that tell me we're going to roll over. So I don't see that in the SPY yet, and so I'll need to see that. Now, on the daily, we still have that negative divergence. It's right there. A lot of people say these don't work, but they just don't work. They don't work all at once, right? They oftentimes they work, and you can use the negative divergence or a divergence to tell you that there's going to be a trade coming up, but don't expect that trade to just be to play out from the moment that you take a position. All right, they can build and build and build, and you just sit there and it just kind of lets you know, hey, be on the lookout for this trend reversal because it's coming soon. That's what this tells you. And so it builds and builds, and you wait and wait, and then it comes, and you take action. And that's like with the Qs. You had negative divergence, building and building and building, and then you get a reversal, and you take action. But again, I don't think this is the end of this move. I think this is the beginning of this down move. So I think we make our first leg down, we kick back, we run up, maybe back gap fill, and then, in the coming weeks to months, we'll be down here. We'll be making new lower lows. It's just, it's not all going to happen at once. You're not going to get, it's not going to sell off and then just, every single week going to go down. And if it starts to go up, then that's the end of the trend. The trend can easily last months, and I suspect that it will, but we're going to have kickback rallies, and that's what it looks like we're getting right now. So no point in just riding short and giving up all your profits that we have, that we've sold off. All the profits that were gained in the big drop, we don't want to give those all back. You're going to give some back because you're never going to, time it perfectly. But when you start to see the change in character, you don't want to give it all back. And then we'll re-enter in a short up here at the gap fill. So that's what I'm looking at. So IWM has negative divergence now. Let me go ahead and circle that out. So this is a divergent high right up here. You can see that the momentum is dropping off. Not confirmed though, so what we need to see is the RSI start to turn down and the PPO kind of start to turn down just to help confirm that divergence. And then what I'll look for, because that will give you confirmed negative divergence, but that is not an entry or a reason to just short it. That just tells you, okay, be on the lookout for a trend reversal, and then we watch for a trend line break. And right now I got this support line. This is the break that I'll be looking for. This trend line right there. So again, I think we're going to get it soon. I'll be on the lookout for it. I'm not going long IWM. I'm more looking for the short opportunity, but it's not there yet. We need a few more things to show up in the chart. Okay, update on this apps. I was short this thing. I bailed on it because we had a bear trap. All right, and that's as far as I can tell is that this is a bear trap. There is the breakdown, but they recovered that support line. As you can see, we clearly recovered that. That's a pretty strong recovery. So I bailed on that one. Again, an important thing is also position sizing. Not all the trades that I point out are going to work. A lot of them that I have been pointing out in the last couple weeks or months did work out, and they were very profitable, but they're not all going to work. And that's just the nature of, technical analysis is not perfect. It's just going to help, but this one didn't work with the recovery. So as it started to recover today and really as it started to just barely tick over this support line, I closed it out and just let it go because the rest of the market was strong and tech was strong. So this one, because it started to look like it was going to recover, we just let it go. That was a loss for me because I entered right here on the breakdown. So that was a loss of about 8%. That's the nature of, and this one's a high flyer too. This thing runs, this thing moves up and down 15, 20% in a day. So I take smaller positions in stocks that move larger. You don't need as large of a position. Anyways, what I see on this one, you still have negative divergence, all right? That's still there, and it still has not played out for any kind of a meaningful breakdown. So I suspect what's going to happen is we're going to run up and make a new high, a new marginal high, probably up to here to 112 or so, and then we're going to break down. All right, so what I'll be looking for is I don't want to short this thing up here at resistance because it is such a strong stock, and I don't know if it's going to overshoot. But what I'll be looking for is a break back below this support line right here. So if we want to run up and hit that and then start to roll over and then we get the sell signal, that's when I'm going to short this thing again. And so I'll be looking for it. Who knows when it's going to come. Okay, AMD. I held on to this one. It didn't have a full recovery of that support line. It still closed the day basically at 81.13, right at resistance. Obviously, a lot of these other ones are putting in bear traps, so maybe this is going to do the same. But until I see it, I'm not really interested in closing it out still. So we'll see. I'm not super confident, just given the nature of the other stock, some of these other stocks that are rallying. But we'll see if we reject right here. We still have big negative divergence. It's right there. We broke the trend line support, and we're just back testing resistance. So I'm looking for this thing to roll over and still head down to this $60 area. That's kind of my first minimum. Well, my first target was right here, 73.75. I had that marked out. This is probably my final target on this, about $60, but we'll see. Same with Chewy. I took a shot at shorting this right here on this breakdown, and well, actually, it was right in here. I took a shot at shorting it right there. Looked like a good breakdown to me, but obviously I knew there was the potential to back test. But this is not just a back test. This is a recovery. So that's a daily close, pretty good, solid daily close back within the trend line support. So if we're going to break down again, I think this will likely grind higher first, probably do that and then break down. So I just covered. I'll look for another break of this trend line right there. Still have negative divergence. That's not gone away, and that has not played out yet. So I still see a breakdown coming. However, this thing could also run up and do another, make a new all-time high in this stock before breaking down and rolling over. So, and we could just extend the negative divergence. It'll be something like that. So again, I'm not interested in being short since we recovered the broken support. So that one, that was a small loss, you know, of about, it was about 5% or so. And again, name of the game, you know, I'm not going to get them all. So PayPal, I'm still short this one. So PayPal, you have this bullish rising or this bearish rising wedge here. We overshot it to the upside. So we've already kind of seen that really bullish move, and that failed. That was a breakdown, and we have not recovered that support line. So we broke down, hit the first level of support right there at 225.72, and now we're probably going to do some back testing action before continuing to roll over. So this one still looks good. I'm still short this. Something to watch for tomorrow is if Redfin has a rejection right here. Here's your resistance. It's this trend line right here. And we broke down, nice impulsive breakdown. We caught this short trade. I covered the short right here, down here at support. And then it's bounced, you know, pretty much just as impulsively right back to resistance. Overshot it a little bit. So, you know, that's common when you have really strong momentum to overshoot something, closing above it. But again, let's see what tomorrow brings. There could be just a rejection right here, and this could have, you know, this might prove to be the kind of the bounce back area of resistance, and then we're going to continue lower. So there's a potential trade there if it does that. I'm going to be watching for it. Otherwise, if it wants to continue higher, then, you know, I think it's probably likely we might even go up to make a new all-time high. So two things to watch for, just really centered around this level of 75.44-ish. To 75.50, somewhere right in there. You'll see it play out tomorrow. If it's going to break down, it should be impulsive, and you'll see it. Otherwise, it'll just, you know, continue to drift. Now, what they'll likely do in the morning is make it look like it's going to break down. If it's not going to break down, they'll make it look like it's going to break down, and then it'll impulsively recover that and start to move higher. Otherwise, if it is going to break down, they'll likely start to move it up just a little bit in the morning and then impulsively sell it down. So just try to look for the impulsive move, you know. That's really what you want to see. Okay, so here's one TAN. Likely closing at resistance, but we could go a little higher. On TAN, you have this clean uptrend line right here. We had the big negative divergence that was building, signaling where we were going to break trend. We did get the sell signal right there, and we broke trend. All right, so the trend was up. You can see, I mean, here's your nice clean uptrend there, and then you broke trend. So it's likely that this move down here is not the end of this trend. All right, the uptrend broke. We've started a downtrend. You know, you can see we're making a series of lower highs and lower lows. Right now we have two lower lows, so there's a low and there's a low. And we have two lower highs. There's a high and a lower high right here. So we could reject right in this area. As I zoom in, resistance is right there at about 97.81. We overshot it and closed slightly above it. But again, you know, if this thing's going to reject, they're going to, you know, it's going to be right in this area. So something to look for. I'll be watching for it, and I'll likely jump on a short trade if I see it. And again, TAN, I covered TAN the other day, and it's continuing to look like this is probably the end of the bounce. We could also bounce all the way up here. This is another possibility if they want to completely recover and move it up to here, 106.50, 106.90 or so. We could bounce up there. So again, you just want to see how things act around this level of about 97.70 and see what happens. You know, I don't know which way it's going to go is the thing. It could go up to here. It could reject. You have to just watch it. But I think it's likely that if we go up, then we are going to, you know, that we're at at one of these resistance levels, we're likely going to resume what I see as the downtrend that's just started. All right. It's not obvious to most that that there is a downtrend and it's going to continue, but it becomes obvious to most after you make the next leg down, and then everybody's, oh, we're still in a downtrend. Well, I'm trying not to give you guys useless information. If I give you information that, after we make the next leg down, I say, see guys, we're in a downtrend, you're not able to take action on that. So I'm trying to point out the levels and what I think it's going to do. And then it's up to everyone to kind of watch the price action. Again, I suspect this one goes lower, whether it goes up here or gets rejected here. I suspect this is going to go lower and probably head down to, this level down here around at 57.67. So that's likely the move, and that would be a drop of about 40%. That's probably going to be my target for this one. Okay, look at this bad boy. If you guys want a long trade idea, WPM, I was buying this, today and yesterday. And what I like about it, well, look, let me see here. You've got, back here it kind of chopped through it. It's not that accurate, but recently you can see we held support right here at this 37.21. So broke above, held support, came in, stepped in early there, but then also right there held support. You can see this day we held support right there, and then recently we broke. So see the big impulsive breakdown and close, but it didn't go anywhere. The breakdown, there was no continuation. It broke, and then the next day gapped higher, sold off, and then it moved up, and it's just kind of chopped around down here. And and zooming in, you can see the wicks that it's been making. See these wicks, how it's kind of dipped below, but then the buyers were there, dip below, buyers, dip below, buyers, and now we've gapped up and started to move higher, and we've recovered that support level. So that's a bear trap, false breakdown, and we are recovering. So I think this thing looks like it's heading straight up to this trend line up here at like 43.33 area. That's your downward resistance right now. So I think you're likely run up to that, get a rejection a little bit. We could, and then we'll look for the breakout, obviously. Anytime you're up near resistance, you're going to look for the breakout. But for now, just to move from there up to that trend line is kind of the trade idea. Also, if you look at the bullish divergence, see how the momentum's moving higher. And the momentum was moving higher right down here. So this was divergent low. That's what triggered me, put me onto this one. And then I was just waiting for a recovery of this broken support, which we got. And you can see the last couple days we recovered it here. We've held it there. And then now we're starting to move higher. So again, I like this one. And from that area, really even from right now, that was still a move of about 14% or so. So I am long WPM. I think they're a silver and gold miner. Look at, here's Agnico Eagle. Again, their support level was right there at about 57.87. You can see that was a support shelf all through here. We gapped below, and that was the COVID drop. Once we recovered that support shelf, it held again. So you can see it came down, held it. Even right here, see that day as I zoom in? See the day where we gapped below it? We opened right here, and it recovered that support level. So it's a valid support line. And recently, as I zoom in, you can see we broke below it. There's your breakdown. But again, it didn't go anywhere. It just broke down, kind of sold off, chopped up, down. And then recently, you can see every single time it got even lower, buyers were there. That's what the wicks are. The price was down here, and the buyers bid it up. So there's some buying action going on right here, and now the price is starting to move up, and we've now recovered that broken support of 57.87. So that is bullish. We did have bullish divergence. I think, yeah, we still had bullish divergence in the RSI on the daily. There it is. And on the PPO, we kind of burned through it. Well, actually, you know what? Not really. I mean, it's a little lower, so we'll say we burned through it there just to give it the benefit of the doubt. But we kept it in the RSI, and we've now recovered. So I think this is all bullish. So I'm bullish this thing. I think that, We do have a clear kind of downtrend that's right about in here. We probably can tag that. Yeah, it's not the best. You know, it's not the cleanest, but we'll say it's right about there. We'll just chalk that up as an outlier because we've got a reaction here, a reaction high. We have a reaction and a reaction. So there's 4. So I think we're heading straight up to that. 69, you know, $69 or so, 68.50. I don't know when we'll get there. So I think we're going up to that trend line, and from where we're at now, that's a potential move of about, you know, 15 to 18% from kind of where we're at now. So I am long this thing, and I've been building positions in this one. It looks good. Here's an example of a stock that kind of already did that price action. You can see you have the downtrend line. A lot of these miners look very similar. They have a downtrend. There's a support zone, and this one, HMY, held support and already ran right up to that trend line. So that's what I think those other ones are going to do. They're going to run up to that downtrend line, probably get a reaction and, you know, a pullback, but then ultimately I think they're probably going to break. However, you know, and this was a gain of about 20% or so. So I see a lot of the miners are looking bullish. They don't all look bullish, but I can tell you that many of them do. FNV looks bullish. Here's Franco Nevada. Same deal. You have this. You have a bullish falling wedge, undercut it a little bit, but it's recovered that wedge now impulsively too. Anytime you see the recovery, see how we closed right here yesterday and today, they gapped it up and just boom, impulsive. That's what you want to see when you're breaking a trend. And what that is anybody who's shorted down here, they're covering. All right, they're saying, oh, I was wrong, get out. And so you have a big impulsive move up. In general, this looks good to me. I think we are going to go higher. And this one has bullish divergence. It's right here. You can see the bullish divergence right there. All right. See how the momentum was moving up, and yet this was a lower price right in here. So a divergent low. You've got divergence low. You've got a bullish falling wedge. You have a recovery. I think that, you know, now we look for a break of the upper trend line, you know, and then we're probably off to the races in these miners. These miners are in a bull market. So, you know, this one has been in a bull market for quite some time. But if you go back and look at some of these other miners, like let's look at Barrick Gold, they're in a bull market, all right? They are making a series of higher lows and higher highs. Since 2015, you've got a higher low, higher low, higher low, and, you know, this is potentially the next higher low. And here's your high, here's your next higher high. So we should continue to trend, and this trend can last a while. So I'm looking to trade these things. As of right now, I look to buy these things on dips, and we've had a nice dip in this thing. This miner has been dropping from the high all the way down to the very low of almost 40%. In a nice solid bull market, when something pulls back 40%, you know, and then starts to show signs of bullishness, that's you know, a good area or time to buy. And these aren't short-term trades. You know, when you buy something like this and it's in a longer-term bull market, this is more of a longer-term trade, a longer-term hold, because this is in a longer-term bull market. So I suspect we're going to continue within that longer-term bull market until something changes, and then eventually we're going to break this trend, and we are going to, you know, start the next bear market. But these are just, I feel like these are, you know, relatively early in a bull market. I think there's possibly quite a bit more left in this bull market. This one, Barrick Gold, hasn't even made all-time new highs. The all-time highs up here at like 55, 65. I believe we at least need to make that before, you know, anything. And I think it's very probable or likely that we're going to be running up and making that that high or double top on this next move higher. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. That's what I got. So thank you, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.